from a big view of it, we're all the same, but then from a little view, if you look at every little aspect, we're all different.
And so Lana, if looking at the Brown versus the Board of Education and Plessy versus Ferguson, you were able to bring some foundation in reference to separation of the races and et cetera. But in spite of all of that, you still believe that that it is the destiny of mankind to come together and everybody's supposed to be able to love one another and accept. Now, how does this leadership conference that you're getting ready to attend, how does that fit into your perceptions in terms of
what Dr. Hand is referencing to is the Junior National Young Leaders Conference. And that is a conference that I was nominated to attend and that I'm going to attend this June of 2014, this summer. Basically, the Junior National Young Leaders Conference is basically where just, academically achieving kids and smart kids and just kids who have special gifts like encore students come together, and then we don't all just sit around at a table for a whole week, and this is a week thing. We go around Washington, D.C. and learn about this as our living classroom, because we get to learn about our different races and our triumphs and all this and our and just all these beautiful things, and it gets to really inspire who we are. And I'm glad that this has been established, because this is really inspiring kids to just move forward instead of just being how they see on TV or on BET. It's inspiring them to be themselves and to be a future leader.
Well, Lana, do you think that many children, young people your age, understand what you were talking about in terms of separation and segregation and et cetera? And if not, what would you do and what should we do in order to make sure that they have a knowledge of some of the things you're talking about?
I don't. I mean, because I can't go down the street and be preaching all this and have a lot of kids say, oh my gosh, I understand how you feel. The majority of them would look at me like I was crazy and say, are you some old lady trapped in a little girl's body? But really, the reason I'm on here is to just get the word out, to basically spread to kids my age and to people your age and to people everybody's age that, hey, I mean, if I'm a kid doing this, then you could be so-and-so doing this, because this is possible. And you know what? I want to be a future leader, and so I'm trying to mold other smaller kids or maybe even bigger people to be future leaders with me.
Okay, very good. And Lana, let me say over the last 15 or 20 seconds that we have here that we certainly appreciate that information, and we encourage you and encourage others to continue your thought in reference to this. And of course, we'll be back with our audience next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning. Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic today is from school to prison, breaking the pipeline. And we have with us to talk about the topic from school to prisons and breaking the white pipeline, Pastor Kay Walker. And Pastor Kay Walker has with him today Ms. Rashida Fatuga and Ms. Sherika Hughes, both individuals that play a very, very significant role in terms of the topic that we are talking about today. And so, Pastor Walker, let's start off by having you, as well as Ms. Hughes and Ms. Fatuga, give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and then we'll be able to get into the topic, perhaps by the second part of this show, dealing with the efforts from from school to a prison and how we might break that pipeline. Let's start off with you.
Okay, Dr. Haney, first of all, let me thank you for allowing us the opportunity to come on your show and to share some information. I think it's going to be of valuable importance to your listening audience. My name is Pastor Kelvin Walker. I pastor the Hands of God Christian Church. We're located in East Nashville on North 2nd Street. I was born and raised right here in Nashville, Tennessee, attended the public schools of Tennessee, and amazingly enough, I thought about it on the way over here to the studio here, Dr. Haney, how that, I don't know how long this prison to school to prison pipeline has been in place, but I know back in the 70s that I was kicked out of all the metropolitan Nashville, Davidson County public schools for extortion. And I recall the principal telling me in my first year of high school, you know, that Mr. Walker, your reputation precedes you, and the first thing I did, I got kicked out of the school system totally. And of course I fell into that trap, ended up in prison on drugs and all the whole 9 yards. So, but I'm here today because this is an important issue, and I brought a couple of guests with me, and I just want to kind of yield to them so that they can talk about it.
Okay. Well, Ms. Fatuga, why don't you give us some information about your background, education, and some of the things that were important in your life, and we will follow that with Ms. Hughes, giving us basically the same kind of information, and then we'll be able to go into this second segment dealing with the topic from school to a prison.
Okay, thank you also for having us on the show today. My name is Rashida Fatuga, and I'm the founder of Gideon's Army, Grassroots Army for Children, and we are a grassroots organization that's youth-led and focused on dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline in Nashville, Tennessee.
Very good. And Ms. Hughes?
Well, my name is Sherika Hughes, and I'm a student at the Academy of Okonkwo. This is my senior year, and I'm part of the Get Against Army nonprofit program for the Peace Project, help supporting youth in school.
And so you're part, in a real sense, part of the program that Ms. Fatuga is talking about. Is that your?
Yes, sir. I'm over the youth in school.
Pastor Walker, let's look at this idea of from school to prison, and I think that there are a large number of young people, many African American youth certainly, who fall into that trap or into that category. What can we say about that?
You know, Dr. Haney, you know me, I'm one that always believe that our government don't always have our best interests at heart. And especially when it comes to the young African American male, and especially the young African American male, in terms of wanting us to have the education that they say that they want us to have, but at the same time creating all types of systems and obstacles and roadblocks that would deter us from acquiring that education. And in our school system, and I think a lot of people are not aware of a lot of the things that take place in our school system that are systematically designed to stop our people from being educated. And that's why we're here today, to talk about these things and to really make the public aware so that we can come together and effectively bust up this school to prison pipeline, because they're identifying our young children at an early age, and they're shuffling them through. And then when you couple that with the privatization of prisons here in the United States of America, it's a deadly situation. It's a deadly poison that's in our society right now. There has to be, we have to recognize it, and then not only do we have to recognize it, but we have to stand up and challenge it and fight against it and eradicate it out of our school systems.
Let's see, Ms. Fatuga, now you've established, we've got about a minute before the end of this segment, but you've established this organization, and make some statements about this organization before we end this segment for today, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up with Ms. Hughes. But give some statements in reference to this organization that you've established.
Okay, well, Gideon's Army is working on a campaign to stop the school to prison pipeline. And what we're doing is looking at the systemic issues in our public school system, judicial courts, and then also just how our kids are handled as far as policing is concerned. That's our focus specifically for this year.
And so you think that you've got a good program that can, in a real sense, at least touch this whole problem of from school to prison, and that's why you wanted to bring Ms. Hughes with you today, and she will be able, when we come back, to give us some information in reference to her journey into this program. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Pastor Walker, Ms. Fatuga, and Ms. Hughes in reference to from school to prison, breaking the pipeline. Pastor Walker, I think that we've talked about the revolving door situation for a long time, but now I think the idea here is from school to prison, and then you go in prison, and then you come back and get involved in the revolving door.
Absolutely.
I think in a real sense. Ms. Hughes, let's have you to talk about your journey to this organization that has been established by Ms. Fatuga, and how you feel that it has helped you and those that you work with or those around you.
Okay, well, I got involved in Get Against Army through my brother, which makes me passionate about it. He was murdered in 2011. He was a very troubled student, and he didn't have the opportunity to experience the things I got to experience. I was very different. I was passionate about school. I always wanted to get out, so I did everything positive that I could think of with the help of others to just get out of the neighborhood I was in, the people who were involved with it. And I had experienced something my junior year of high school, which I've never been in trouble. And soon I got in trouble. It was like everyone who helped me and supported me to be different and to experience different things, they dropped me. And I wasn't able to go to Nashville Public School anymore, and I was put in an alternative school, so it's like I was stereotyped, like I was a bad student, but I wasn't. I was good. I did everything from the beginning to prove to everyone that I was different, and everyone knew that. So when Get Against Army came about with Rashida Fatuga, and I knew there was other students out there who were being pushed out of school, who it was their first offense, but it was zero tolerance in school, they didn't get a chance to express their feelings or how they felt, and when they fought about how they felt and how they got in the situation, they were just looked down upon because it didn't matter, because they didn't have a voice. So joining with Get Against Army, I have been able to meet people from Vanderbilt, Fisk University, TSU, so it's just like a huge diversity of people who've got in trouble, different race, it really didn't matter. And we just all got to come together and just express our experience of like how Get Against Army would help us, or how we could help other students who've been pushed out of school. And that's really just been our main goal, of helping youth stay in school, staying positive, being supportive, on helping them just experience different things without being stereotyped.
So Ms. Fatuga, you established this organization, Get Against Army. Well, now, what prompted you, what motivated you to think of an organization like this, and tell us something about the successes that you've had in reference to this organization?
Okay, well, my motivation is, number one, I was a Metro Public School teacher for 7 years. I taught in the Edge Hill community, and I loved being in the classroom, but I did see, as my students got older, you know, just keeping in touch with them over the years, they ended up being pushed out of schools. They didn't love school like they used to, incarcerated, murdered.